Hey everyone, this is Wei, and thanks for joining me here. A lot of you have asked about some of the materials I use, so I'm gonna just do a real quick video on some of the drawing materials I use for most of my drawings. And they're basically these Steadtler Graphite pencils, and they're made in Germany. They're pretty good quality. Actually, they're very good quality, and it's about like $1.50 each, but they do last for quite a while, so it is a good buy. Now for these graphite pencils, there's different designations to them, and they range from from H, like I believe 9H, and all the way to 9B. And what it means is just different levels of softness to them. So mostly I work with the Bs because they are kind of the softer pencils. They're much better for sketching. Now let's see. This is a 2B. Okay, let me put it down here. And they're kind of it's a very good overall sketching pencil. And then you have I like using the 4B. It's a little bit darker, and it's really good for shading. And then the last one I mostly use is the 6B, and this is a really soft pencil, but it goes really dark. Now when I'm sketching, I mean, you can sketch with any one of these, but just know that you can only go so dark with each one. So if you want to go really dark, then you're gonna have to use the 6B. Now the HB, which is kind of like, I don't have an HB, but I have a B, which I don't have in pencil form, but I have a B that is pretty close to your regular what's that school pencil, the yellow one that you guys use, is it a 2B or something, 2H? Oh, I forgot what you call that, but that's basically your school pencil, right? So all of these higher B numbers are just progressively darker from that, so that'll give you a good starting point. So let me just draw something real quick, and so I can show you what these different type pencil are capable of. So I'm gonna do just a sketch of an eye. Let's see, I can just show it up in frame. Make sure I'm doing it big enough. So this is the 2B, and I'm just gonna sketch this eye, and I'll show you. That way you can compare it with the other pencil, how it's gonna look, like the kind of results that you can get. And with the B, is actually this is the 2B. It's pretty good. I mean, it's darker than your school pencil that you use, but it's also very sharp, right? You can see that you can actually make very fine lines with this, and that's because it's a much harder pencil compared to the higher numbers. So just let me sketch this, and I'm sketching in as quickly as I can. And you can see the shading. It's soft, but it's not that dark, right? And I'll push into the paper a little bit more just to show you the kind of darkness you can get. But let me shade this a little bit better so you can see it. See, is it in frame? Okay. Always have to check if what I'm drawing is still in the camera frame. Alright, so here I'm going to push in real hard because this is the pupil. Okay, and I'm just going to save a little bit for the highlight. And I'll push this a little bit harder. Get a nice gradation going from the top. It's usually darker on the top for the eye, because of the eyelids, creates an overhang. So this is kind of like a generic lighting for an eye. This would be darker. This light's coming from that side. Okay, so that is kind of like your eyeball. I mean, it's decent. You can get a pretty good range with this. All right, so I'm gonna do. That was the 2B. So I'm gonna switch to the 4B. This is a 4B now, and I'm gonna do attempt to do the same eyeball, but I'm sure it's gonna be a little bit different. Now, I think you can see this in camera already. You can see how much it's a little bit softer, and it's the lines are a little bit more faded. Okay. But it's very nice. I love the 4B. It's just like an overall sketching pencil. Okay, so I'm gonna push in harder, and you can see how much darker it is, right? It's a little bit, it's like fuzzier, you know. You can, and if you want a hard line, then you have to, you know, kind of rotate the pencil a little bit. And I talk about that a lot in my sketching video, because as you rub the pencil, you know, one edge is always going to get flattened out. So if you want a sharp one, you know, you just kind of turn it a little bit and you get a nice sharp edge. Okay, and then this is darker here. I'm going to make this dark, the pupil. So fade it out, give it a nice gradation. And then the bottom. And this will be darker here. So you can kind of see, especially when I go lighter, you can see how fuzzy it is compared to this, right? This is like nice and sharp, and this is a little bit fuzzier when I go light. Okay, let me shade this here a little bit. Okay. All right. So that would be the 4B. So just that would be a good comparison. Now let's go to the 6B. And this is going to be pretty dark. All right, let's draw it up here a little bit. I'll move it in frame. All right. So the 6B is actually really cool. You can sketch really fast this way, and that's because it's a lot softer, so you can end up covering a lot of areas a lot faster. Okay. So here is the iris. I mean the pupil. I always get confused which part is which. Okay, this part is the pupil, right? Yeah. Okay. Shading. See, like this light area right here, you can see how soft it is. And I mean, maybe it's a little bit harder to tell between the 2 and the 4, but if you compare the 2 and the 6, it's a big difference. You can spot it right on. And so this is kind of fuzzy. I mean, sometimes it's really hard to get like a nice clean line. Yeah, I can turn it a little bit, but even if I turn it, when I push hard into it, the graphite kind of dissipates rather quickly. So you end up using the 6Bs and the 4Bs a lot quicker, you know, because a lot of the graphite rubs off really, so it's actually more expensive to use. I mean, if money is an issue for a pencil. So yeah, it does rub off a little faster. If you do buy these pencils, you might want to get a couple of these at once, because just in case you run out fast. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go a little bit darker here just to show you how much darker this thing gets compared to the others. I'm kind of getting sick and tired of drawing this eyeball, but it serves as a good example. All right, so let me see. Let me put this on frame. So you can see how much darker, you know, the 6B is to the 4B. I mean to the 2B. And especially if you compare it to like a you know, regular writing pencil in school. All right. So I mean, you can draw whatever you want, but you can see just the differences, right? And if you're using a 2B, just don't expect to be able to get this kind of result, you know, this kind of darkness on a 6B. So, well, let me, since this is kind of like somewhere in the middle, I'm gonna use the 2B and the 6B on this, just to finish things out, and so you can see, you know, if you use a combination of pencils, how much more variety you can get in your drawings, and it really shows. Sketching these. So I'm going to go dark, and then I'm going to go to the 2B. Let's give it some. Now this is a little bit sharp. You see how sharp this is? So you gotta kind of have to be aware of the sharpness too, you know. And actually, well, on a side note, sometimes what I like to do is to actually have a couple of these, like, you know, the same one, like the 2B, I'll have a sharp one, and then I'll have a very dull one. That way you can get nice variation, you know, when you need it. Because if I need like a dull edge, I don't want to be like, you know, rubbing this off intentionally and wasting the graphite. So now I'm using the 2B just to, and this helps to, you know, fill in the areas a little bit cleaner, the lighter areas, you know, mostly small details, like really good for little these eyelashes. Okay, and then I'll switch back, let's say, to the 4B just to give it a little bit more detail, because this area should be a little bit darker. Okay, and now I know this is dark. Now instead of using the 4B, I'm going to use the 6B, you know, just push it in like that on the 6B. And the reason is, you know, it's, I mean, not that you can't, I mean, I can push real hard the 4B, but it's kind of like golf, you know, when you're doing, I don't know how many of you play golf. You know, it's like you want to use the right club, right? I mean, you don't want to use a putter to hit, you know, to hit it, to drive. So it's kind of the same concept, you know, you just want to use the right, you know, pencil so that you don't end up pushing the other ones too far. So here I'm using the 4B. So let's say I want to fill in, you know, around the eye. Well, let's use the 2B, and I can actually just go, you know, start filling it in. Now I could have done it, you know, like the 4B. I mean, I could kind of do the same, like real lightly. I can do it, but it's a little bit harder. And if I just go ahead and use the 2B, I can be a little bit more. I don't have to be as careful, you know, because I know it can't go very dark anyways. So that's why you kind of want to use the correct pencil. Okay, so you see, you know, with the 2B how nice it is to fill in, you know, like a general tone over it. I'll give you some nice shading. Okay, so like right here, if I want to go darker, instead of pushing hard on the 2B, I'm just going to switch to the 4B. And then just kind of lay it in a little bit. Give it a little bit, you know, a little bit darkness here. So anyway, I'm not going to push this too much more, but I think you got the idea. And so these are the basic pencils that I use. It's basically the 2B, 4B, and the 6B. Now, actually, let me talk about one other stuff. A lot of times, you know, obviously when you're drawing a lot, your pencil is gonna be like this, right? When it's really short, you know, you really can't hold it anymore because you really need it to rest on your palm. So what you want to do is, you know, you gotta buy these little extensions, you know, pencil holders. So you kind of, you know, put them in, and then that way you can extend your pencil. Now you have a you know, regular length pencil, and it's actually not just good for really short pencils, but even for, you know, long pencils, because, you know, a longer pencil is a lot more freedom with it. You know, you're able to do this kind of stuff, you know, more freely, and it gives you a little bit more weight. So actually, having a longer pencil really helps. You know, at least that's what I find. I mean, what you don't want to do is you don't want to like crunch like this onto this little thing. So if your pencils gets really short, just get a pencil holder. And I got a bunch of these, like probably like 4 or 5 of them. Okay. All right. And lastly, I know if you guys have been watching my drawing videos, you see that I've been using, this kind of stuff. These little mechanical pencils. And what they are, they're just basically lead holders. And here is a full lead, and they're the same brand, the Steadtler brand. And these are just a little pencil holder. All right, so you just kind of put in your lead, and then that's it. And the good part is, it's a little bit cheaper. The lead itself is a little bit cheaper, and also it's a little bit cleaner. You're able to just retract it. Let's say you put it in your backpack or your pocket, And another thing about this is that because there's no wood, you don't have to sharpen them. So it's actually kind of nice to be able to just keep sketching. You don't have to sharpen them. Now, if you do want to sharpen these, they have these mechanical pencil sharpeners. And basically, you just extend your lead, you put them in here, and you just kind of rotate and grind the lead, and it will give you a nice sharp edge. And actually, amazingly, I don't use much of this because I end up not having to sharpen it anyways. I if you want a sharp edge, again, you can just kind of turn it, and it works well. And I have like 3 or 4 of these things, different lead. This is like this one's the 4B, and then this is the 2B. That way I can have a full set. What is the B and this is the 2B? But regardless, it's like having these lead pencil holders is actually very convenient, and it keeps your toolbox a little bit cleaner. And I think that's about it, for these graphite pencils. I'll talk about some of my other materials I use, but mostly, I use this and they work great. So, if you want to do any kind of drawing, I definitely recommend these Steadtler brand pencils. So, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time with a real drawing.